My name is Sam Herron. I manage the Americas for SUSE. I've been in the role almost 3 years. Right now, going forward, the Americas to us will mean Canada and the United States. And I work with Bob Fidrich in the Americas and Joe Gerkman from an alliance point of view. I also have with me today joining for a little bit Helen Tang. Y'all met her a little bit ago, and she is the Worldwide Alliance Manager for SUSE at the global level at HPE. And this is my second SUSECon. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoy meeting you all when I get the chance. I also attended SUSE new hire training back in 2014. My hiring date it coincided with people who were being onboarded to work here, so I got to meet a lot of folks, and just as if I were an employee of SUSE. That was a great week down in Orlando a couple weeks ago. David.
So thanks. I apologize for being late. For those that were in the keynote this morning, you heard about hacking the demos and all that. Yeah, I got a call like 20 minutes ago. They needed to change the network configuration, so that's where I was. So I'm David Byte. I'm Senior Technology Strategist in the HPE Alliances program here at SUSE. And I work on storage a lot. And I've done quite a bit with HPE. If you look at our reference architectures and some of the benchmarks that are public, that's where I've been.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. So with that being said, we do have some folks in the room who I've worked with in the past. There's some folks that have helped us with webinars, videos in the room, who's helped me with some SAP presentations in Houston over the past couple years. So if anybody has any input, please feel free. I mean, a lot of you all are familiar with HPE and the Alliance. So again, feel free, as you heard earlier, we have some customers in the room. So I want to make sure that we hit the high spots here. I'm going to give you some of the reasons why HPE and SUSE have teamed together. I have a flight at 2 o'clock, so at 12 p.m. I'm cutting it short. I got to run down to Reagan National and get out of here. But I'm going to talk fast, y'all listen fast, and then David will have a lot of the technical overview of the presentation. He and I presented a version of this at Aspire, and then we've had several conference calls with Dom, with Scott, and Paul Augustiniak in the HPE region. So let me turn this phone off here. And with that, we'll get started. So this past week, and not to belabor the point, of course, you all know that we had an election this week. For better or for worse, someone had to win. But one thing that I heard in the comments over the past, day and a half now, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times, and that is data. That is analytics. And there's so much data that is being driven by the numbers that were being posted this week, the exit polls, the pre-polls, the post-polls, just all this data, and it literally is flying around everywhere. There is so much analytics, and as you can imagine, the data that will be called over and mulled over that have been created over the past 17, 18 months for both campaigns. I mean, as we look at just how even our modern, the modernity of politics even, there's so much data that's being created. As you can see here on the left-hand column, we have the three major infrastructures three major regions that are really driving that data, and cloud, big data, and mobility. And then, of course, the variety here. I mean, it goes from email, video, audio, and one thing that I say in our HPE calls is when we say companies are generating data, yes, but they're usually companies that service us. So we, the people, if you will, are creating all of that data. Data that's being created from mobile applications, from mobile devices, from anything from nowadays with medical records and things of that nature. There's so much data being created, and you'll see here that I have here a couple of slides, big data, and I know a lot of times that reference usually is to Hadoop, but don't think of it that way. We are thinking of big data, or also known as unruly data. And it really is data that our customers are trying to harness, they're trying to analyze, and they're trying to take that data, make it meaningful, and they're trying to make it where in the context of someone who sells something, data that they can market. And David, again, please feel free to jump in anytime.
Yeah, thanks. So one of the things I really want to point out is around the variety of the data. You have some of these that are moderate in size, but then you have things like the video that are extremely large in size. And those are the things that are really quite problematic as we move on, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, indeed. And I had the privilege of meeting Chief Mark Patrolek the other day and Paul Pepero and arrange for their flight arrangements to come down to SUSECon. I really enjoyed meeting the Chief. I did give him a hard time because unfortunately he was in the Marine Corps and I was in the Navy, so he had to really, I had to make sure that he knew who the alpha dog was and it wasn't him. But I had a great time meeting Chief Patchelek, great time listening to the use case and how they use it in real world terms and what it's doing for their police department, and how hopefully that we can take a lot of that messaging and spread that to a lot of the calls that we're going to be having with HPE prospects going forward. So I decided to leave this in only because the big data or the storage total addressable market, these numbers have been exhausted, but only just to say and to reemphasize that it is real. I mean, it was darker on my laptop, but $1 billion business. There are 3 things that our customers have in common other than compute and network, and it's storage. They're trying to scale it and they're trying to secure it. And right now, scaling and security, I would say, are on equal footing. We have so many of our customers, whether they're using traditional storage, whether they're using Hadoop or other software-defined, including Ceph, of course, they're coming to us as trusted advisors with interoperable and engineered and supported hardware saying, here's what we have over here. We have a production environment, we have a development environment, and or we have environments that are running in parallel, and we need your help in trying to give us a strategy long term. And that really is where SUSE comes in. Of course, David and some of you guys, you have the lower level technical pieces much better than I, but what I hear from our customers is that they're looking for platforms that are supported. They're looking for companies that stand behind the platforms to give them SLAs. There are a lot of our customers that are using free Ceph right now. They have open source Ceph that they're using with OpenStack, with OpenSUSE, with CentOS, with Ubuntu, and they really don't know what direction they want to go in for a supported and a production environment. And we, HPE, and we'll see this in a little bit, but we have platforms that we've engineered, supported, and they're interoperable with SUSE as a partnership.
And absolutely, that's a very key point when we talk about the partnership. One of the reasons we really wanted to partner with HPE was provide our customers with a single point of contact for sales, consulting, delivery, and the support after the sale. That's really, really critical when we talk about storage environments. It's what they're used to with their traditional enterprise environments. And that has made this very critical as we address this rapidly growing market segment.
Exactly, and our customers, again, are really coming to us and they want a definitive set of deliverables. They want statements of work that they can understand in terms of man hours, and right now, there are no standards. There are no standards when it comes to software-defined storage on how it's going to be procured, how it's going to be supported, and then ultimately how it's going to be consumed. I'll go ahead and just let these come up here. And we talked about this, we hit the high spots earlier, but I mean, more data to identify, it's more complex to integrate, and then more systems to manage. And that's one thing as a system admin, whether you're Unix, whether you're a Linux admin, is you're having fewer and fewer resources to administer the environments. And with SUSE Manager, with SUSE Enterprise Storage, with HPE OneView, we really are presenting our customers with solutions where they can administer their environments.
Exactly, and this is a key area where SALT from SUSE strategy comes into place. It really helps us manage that landscape that gets ever increasingly big. So.
Again, another slide I hesitated to leave in. I was talking to David and Bob about this the other day, but I really wanted to show you all what our customers, what our prospects, what the logo wall looks like when they go to Google, when they go to a CIO white paper or a magazine, and they're looking for solutions, and they type in software-defined storage. They type in supported Ceph implementations or any other thing that they may put in for software-defined storage, and this is what they're looking at. I mean, there are open source solutions. There are different infrastructure analytics solutions, and again, it really starts to become noise. And we at HPE and SUSE are trying to give our customers defined solutions that are supported and can be integrated into their existing environments.
Absolutely.
David, I'll go ahead and put all 4 of these up. You can talk to them or not, and we can then.
Yeah. So what we wanted to show here is all of the places that data is created and what that process, that life cycle of the data looks like. So we're bringing the data in at the top. We've got to store it somewhere, and then we have to start analyzing it. And again, these are all things that all vendors that the customer is confronted with in these spaces. It's a lot of choice. And that means they need an advisor. SUSE is going to be there, HPE is going to be there. If we go in hand, and we work together with the customer, we come out with the right sets of pieces from those solutions.
Exactly. So David was kind enough to send me a picture of his closet at home today. I appreciate that, David.
You're funny, Sam.
But this is a great visualization of traditional row and column database. This is what it looks like when your customer has their data. It's organized, they know where it is, they know where they can find stuff. And this is typically what a lot of enterprise customers aspire to, but this is usually what they have.
Hey, you weren't supposed to share the picture of
my
office.
Now, yeah, right. Now that's my son's 15-year-old. That's my 15-year-old son's room. But this is a great illustration of what unstructured data looks like. So, for example, if my wife wanted me to go find something in something box and whatever, well, it takes me a while to look for it. That's exactly what's going on with our. That's what's exactly going on with our customers. In that they have data, it's stored all over the place, it's fragmented, it's unstructured. They're taking in different formats all the time, whether it's coming through email, it's coming through mobile, and they don't know quite where to put it. And in fact, the Orchard Park Police Department really gave me a sense of the urgency of having to store data with regulations that are either self-imposed or you have outside compliance that tell you how long you can store data, and then at the same time, how quickly you have to retrieve that. For their example was having to retrieve it for a court. A judge says, hey, I need 5 minutes of this. They redact it, they bring it down, they take a look at it. I mean, that is in a 35-man police department. Can you imagine larger law enforcement? We're talking about DOD, federal law enforcement agencies, and these are the problems that our customers are facing.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out, this data comes all in all shapes and sizes.
Right.
And that's what makes it really challenging when we start thinking about a traditional environment. And
Exactly.
we'll talk more about that in just a second.
Yes, sir. David, I know we talked about this the other day. I know you have a good example or a good run through of this slide here.
Yeah, so I like to start down in this lower left-hand corner. When we talk about structured data, it's like a parking lot where every slot is the exact same size, and you're going to come in and it just fits. Well, that's not most of our data. Most of our data, 80% of it, looks more like the picture at the top, where it's all shapes and sizes. It doesn't quite fit in a existing spot. You may have to maneuver it around. So having a valet come in and park it where you don't have to worry about where you're going to shove it, let someone else take care of it, that's really what object storage is. It's able to come in, you're able to come in with the object storage system. It shoves it in no matter what size or shape it is and takes care of it for you. You just have to say, hey, here's my key. They'll take it, park it, and then when you want it, hey, here's my ticket, right?
Exactly. Thank you, David. This came off my older presentation.
Yeah,
I apologize.
that's fine.
So this was my mistake. SUSE Enterprise Storage, I had moved up to warm on the presentation. I emailed Rich. The presentation that I'm going off now is off of a thumb drive that was not updated. Dave, you want to talk about SUSE Enterprise Storage being warm storage?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do with this slide is really help you understand the positioning of SUSE Enterprise Storage, where it fits in the landscape of your enterprise environment. And on this far left side of the slide where the 3PAR and storage is, this really is addressing that top tier, high performance, low latency thing. Things like OLTP environments, mission critical decision analytics stuff that sits at that top side. Very, very fast access storage. When we get out into the warm and the cold archive, that's really where we see object storage, and particularly SUSE Enterprise Storage fitting well. It's able to cross that entire middle section of the landscape and take care of warm archives, whether it's dealing with your application putting its data out where you have 30-year retention requirements, you need to be able to go back and access it, or maybe it's a direct-to-disk kind of backup as we get towards the colder end of the storage. That's exactly where SUSE Enterprise Storage fits extremely well in your data center, and especially as we look with the protocol supports, being able to support block, file, and object. That's critical in covering a vast number of use cases in that space.
Real quick, I know we haven't paused yet for questions. Are there any questions so far? Does anybody have any issues they're currently dealing with, or have any questions about how SUSE Enterprise Storage and HPE are supporting the solution? Yes, sir.
Can I just say one thing? When we went looking for a non-3PAR level, your storage guys didn't give us anything. It took us so long before they told us about the Apollo series or something along those lines that it was past October, so we couldn't buy anything.
So I certainly appreciate that comment, and we are working internally. Unfortunately, sales comp plans drive what we sell, and when folks aren't comped in the right way, they steer customers sometimes towards other products. So we are working on that now. In fact, we had an alliance director meeting yesterday to make sure that folks are comped on the right things and that the right conversations can be offered up when they're asking about non-3PAR solutions.
Because we specifically said we need your set solution.
Right. Thank you.
And we already saw all 8 of those, so it doesn't seem like they would be pushing us that much.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. So these are the systems that we've certified SUSE Enterprise Storage for. We have reference architectures for the both 4200 series and the 4530, and a implementation guide for the ProLiant DL380, which, by the way, the DL380 is our most popular server. I mean, more customers buy the 360 and 380 pretty much than any other rack server that we offer in our lineup. And as you can see here, really, this is a big deal for us. As we talk to customers about software-defined storage workloads, we want to make sure that they have paths for planning for the future. We want to make sure that we keep it simple as far as their environment goes and that their storage environment is responsive. So plan for the future, pay as you go. There are software-defined storage vendors out there that have basically what's called t-shirt size SKUs, if you will. And I know that we're working on some things like that internally here at HPE and with SUSE. But really, the way you can buy SUSE Enterprise Storage SKUs here at HPE is a lot more effective and cost effective. So pay as you go. So if you need a new node, you plug one in. So think about the blade architecture. So if it's a DL380 or a 4200 or a 4530, if you need more compute, storage, and network, you put a new node in and you actually have newest compute right there. The storage is added on. Keeping it simple, Ceph is a unified storage system for both file, or all 3, file, block, and object. And then, of course, various interfaces on Ceph-based system, including S3. And staying responsive, like I said earlier, with each new node, you get new CPU, you get more RAM, and the network speed are added, and network added with each Ceph node. And then again, the 380 is our best-selling server. 4200 is going to be for your most dense for a 2U architecture. And then the 4530 hold both small form factor drives and large form factor drives with mixed drive cages. And if I had one here, a lot of times, and I was telling Joe Gerkman about this the other day, I want to make sure, as do all HPE folks, that we steer away from a commodity, branding, if you will, when it comes to x86 servers. But I was in Houston a couple of weeks ago at our yearly server fest, and they had the hoods of these servers open, and you could see the differences between the way the CPUs were situated away from power supplies to keep heat down. I could see different lower resistant pads on the motherboard for air to easier ventilate outside the back. I mean, there are a lot of things that I know it sounds, you built a better server, but we really are, and we test the memory more, we test the hard drives more. A lot of times we've had customers say, well, I bought the exact same processor, RAM, and hard drive from Dell maybe 6 months, or somebody else 6 months before HPE, and it's because our testing is longer. We have a much longer testing cycle. It's more rigorous when it comes to the components and options of our servers, because we want to make sure that when these servers go out to our customers, that they're not going to have any issues with them when it comes to, again, the CPU and memory.
Right. So a couple of quick comments on this slide in particular. 2 things. One of the best things about the SUSE Enterprise Storage infrastructure is you can implement, say, your proof of concept on the DL380s, and you bring that in and you prove out that it works. But you really need 4 or 5 petabytes of storage in the end of things. So you may come back in and use the Apollo 4200 as the bulk of your storage infrastructure. SUSE Enterprise Storage is just fine with having mixed hardware architectures in place to support your storage. And more importantly, you can actually divvy things up internally to SUSE Enterprise Storage, where you say, I'm creating a higher performance pool, and maybe use the DL380s for that. And then have some 4200s, say, this is the bulk of my storage landscape. And you direct most of your traffic there. But if you have something that requires a little bit more performance, put that on the DL380s. That's very easy to do within SUSE Enterprise Storage. The other thing, going back to the engineering conversation, that is very important, especially when we talk about storage-dense servers. I have a background in hardware, and I'm presenting later today with Matt Curley again on the reference architectures around these. Managing things like harmonic vibration in the chassis is extremely important when you have a lot of drives. I know Larry Morris back there can tell you about that. He spent a lot of time doing enterprise storage arrays. You've got to manage the harmonics, the heat dissipation, and all of those, the EM interference that's going on. If you don't manage it, you end up with these odd things happening that are very hard to chase down inside the array. So it's very important to have an engineered infrastructure.
Right. Thank you for that, David. Yeah, that was only the 9 things that I forgot to say. So thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Again, talking about the density of the 4200 series. Basically, David hit the high spots there, but really, we really worked alongside with SUSE. This was a product that a year ago that, basically the SUSE team brought to HPE. We weren't really sure how to fit it within our storage portfolio, meaning at the time our legacy hardware storage portfolio. But we really are going out telling customers that they need to be considering SUSE Enterprise Storage, especially if they're talking about Ceph or any other platform where they're looking at software-defined storage in general. And here in the Alliance, we are going out to our pre-sales teams. Again, working with Bob Fitterich and the storage overlays that y'all have in the Americas, we're going out after pre-sales guys, pre-sales managers, our storage directors that don't really have a lot of background around software-defined storage, but at the same time knowing that in fiscal year 17, which for us started on November 1st, that these SKUs will be added to their portfolio, their comp plans, and to really make sure that they're offering these up when our customers are asking about them.
So I'll say something about the 4510. If you have a need for a very large object store, we're talking 4, 5, 10 petabytes, kind of at the minimum end of things, this is the ideal platform for you. It's not going to provide you the highest performance per drive, per OSD as we're going to call it inside SUSE Enterprise Storage. But what it does do is provides tremendous density with enterprise engineering behind it. So we actually have a rack where I have 3 of these, 3 of the 4200s in it, and some DL360s. These servers will accommodate 60 to 68 drives, depending on how you lay it out. And they're very serviceable. That's one of the key elements in this platform. Everything is really easy to access, slides out the front. You can pull out, if say you have a RAID controller fail or a CPU fail, you just slide it straight out and it's done. They boot off M.2. It's actually probably the best engineered large capacity chassis that I've had the pleasure to work with to date.
Yeah, and then recently we came out with the 10 terabyte drive as well. So now instead of 5.44 petabyte, it's up to 6.8. And again, even better, bang for your buck. We had it there listed for 544 for best money for gigabyte, but it's even going lower. David?
Yeah, so just looking across the HPE product portfolio, there's a lot of options that we can do. So one of the interesting things when we look at these chassis is just the differences in configurations that we have access to. When we look around the Hadoop and analytics and we start thinking about storage, depending on the use cases, we may have the ability to compose the right solution making up multiple parts. So we may have pieces that are SUSE Enterprise Storage on things like the 4510s, but you can compose and say, but I need some high performance analytics included in this platform that we're building, this solution that the customer needs. And that's where we get into the composable infrastructure.
Yeah, and I know that this is primarily a SUSE Enterprise Storage presentation, of course, but I wanted to make sure that you all knew that we have, we represent Hortonworks and Cloudera in our J3 partner program. So where I sit in HPE server software, and we have a lot of people asking us. I have the category manager for Hortonworks say, he has some customers that are interested in running Hortonworks. They're talking about front ends and back ends with different types of technology, and we want to make sure that SUSE Enterprise Storage or HPE Ceph-based storage is something that's available to them. Again, we're having a lot of, I wouldn't say strange, but new questions because a lot of our customers, a lot of your customers, our customers are really looking, further down the road, and they're using some very cutting edge technology.
And it's about solutions. That's the real answer.
Indeed, and this really is the value that we provide. On top of going above and beyond the support, the interoperability, and then engineering. It really is the support. We have a lot of Ceph users, open source Ceph users, that they are afraid of deploying on their own. They really want to make sure they have a hardware vendor that stands behind the platform and that is the company they call when they have a software issue as well. So for SUSE Enterprise Storage, it also includes support subscriptions for SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, as well as the hardware infrastructure underneath, and then of course the storage layer. So that is something that we really want to make sure that our customers know, that we are not reselling this. This is not a resale type of proposition where we're selling a SKU and then we're having SUSE support it at a level 1 and 2. We are the support and engineering behind the solution. We're supporting level 1 and 2. Then we have a level 3 engineering agreement between us and SUSE, of course. And when it comes to customers who are more familiar with the way we support SAP and SAP HANA, I tell them it's basically the same thing. If you have the SAP environment and you already have SUSE Linux Enterprise Server and you're buying the hardware from us, this software solution looks very similar as the way it's supported. So that really is a level of risk that we're trying to take out of the customer's ask when it comes to Ceph. We have an HPE sizing tool right now. It is available to HPE pre-sales reps. I've spoken to the overlays, again, Paul, Dom, and Scott, and I want to make sure they have this in their hand. David Byte worked with a few folks at our GBU level, including folks like Carol Bassett, to really get this tool working for us. Basically, it has drop-down menus where you can add the kind of servers you want. You can add hard drive, memory, and then it gives you a bill of materials. And also lets you know on the, let's say, third tab going left to right, you have your server, you have a bill of materials, and then you have your SUSE Enterprise Storage SKUs that are either for 1 or 3 year, and we'll show you that on the next screen. But this is it's easy as far as it not being complex, but it at least gives the HPE server rep and storage rep a place to start to creating their quote in either SBW, that software builder for Windows, or iQuote. And it really helps them as a guide, if you will, to start working with the SUSE team to make sure that they're speccing out the hardware right.
Right, and that's the important piece. It's built on our best practices, not minimum recommended, but what we recommend as the best practice for our customers to put into production environments.
Yeah, indeed. So how SUSE Enterprise Storage is sold at HPE, it is very similar to how SUSE reps are selling it today, but we have a 1 and 3 year bundle. Again, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server support is included with all the Ceph SKUs. And then how we talked about it earlier, so when you are not at capacity, but when you've already maxed out the 1 year of starting bundles, then you can buy expansion nodes by the node, like we talked about earlier, where you can literally just add more servers, add more nodes to your Ceph environment.
And I'd like to point out that expansion node is a great thing. So if you're building an object storage landscape with this, and you're putting in more, say, S3 storage for your applications, you may need more Rados gateways. Well, we're not going to nickel and dime you on saying, oh, yeah, you have to buy the Rados gateway. You're getting the storage node and the entitlements to do another infrastructure node, which would be a Rados gateway or iSCSI gateway.
Thank you, David. And here are the SKUs. I mean, these are available certainly not only upon request, but these have been added to the HPE OEM price list. And these have been also added along with SUSE Manager. So we're working very diligently right now with Brian Gartner and the Alliance team and making sure that we have the APIs open for HPE OneView and SUSE Manager so that customers can literally deploy their environment out of SUSE Manager. It has intelligence with HPE OneView to monitor the hardware. And I know that doesn't mean a lot to SUSE reps, but when our customers depend upon HPE OneView to understand the topology of their hardware infrastructure, they want to make sure they can also do the same thing, have the telemetry. Telemetry, I always mess that up. That is strategic. I can never say that. The T word, make sure that they can get all the information they need off of SUSE Manager and OneView.
Yeah, so just one thing to point out here, for anyone who's not familiar with the pricing model, you don't see anything that says per gigabyte, terabytes, or anything. It's per node. So it's very, very simple, and your pricing's the same, and I'll say it's very affordable.
Yes.
It's the same whether it's a DL380 or a 4510. So you're not getting gigged just because you want something that has higher capacity.
Yeah, and we will be coming out with a T-shirt, basically an average deal, as it were, small, medium, and large. I'll be working with the Alliance team and the SUSE storage overlays, because they're asked by their customers, hey, what does it look like for 150 terabytes? What does it look like for 4 petabytes? And they're trying to get some budgetary numbers on the hardware and the software. So we're really trying to implement these SKUs and let a customer know, if you buy this, it'll look like this, it'll cost like this. Because right now they're comparing against VSA, they're comparing against Scality and other traditional storage out there. So we really want to make sure that we give them an idea, and in the best way to let them know that this is very cost effective. So I've looked at competitors' quotes, and it's up in the 800,000 range for the starting quote, the first quote out the gate. I mean, SUSE Enterprise Storage on Apollo or ProLiant DL380, you're looking at the mid 100s. $150,000, $175,000, and this is all in. This is the configuration that we would be selling to the customer. So we want to make sure that I think Paul Augustiniak or one of those guys say it's cheap and deep. I mean, this solution, it is ready to go. It's supported by HPE with engineering expertise with SUSE, and of course is supported by them on the back end. So we really want to make sure that our customers know that this is available. It's shipping now. We announced this at HPE Discover back in June, and with for me personally, the renewed energy that we got around the HPE spin merge announcement with SUSE being the preferred Linux distribution for HPE, we are really taking that out into my own sales folks, and want to make sure that they realize that HPE and SUSE, we have some responsibility for each other's success now, and I want to make sure that we get as much of these SKUs sold out into the marketplace.
Definitely.
My information, so of course me, Helen Tang, who had to go to a call a little bit ago, Bob Fidrich. So if you have any questions about HPE, please feel free to call Bob, call Joe Gerkman. At a technical level, feel free to engage Brian Gartner. And Brian has been working on the HPE account for at least a few years now, so he is very knowledgeable in all the projects we're working on going forward. He's knowledgeable in our RAs. There's a lot of things that we're trying to get done with OneView right now, and of course around storage. So, you all have a great team on your side, and if you need to contact HPE, just go through Bob or even David. David talks to us sometimes several times a month on sales calls and things like that. Thank you. We appreciate it. I wanted to make sure, I apologize. I left some stuff out. Like I said, I didn't realize what time my flight was going to be when I was scheduled for the presentation, but I want to thank you all for joining today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me if it comes to hardware. Helen's in the back, but I suspect most of the questions are usually going to be around the technology of Ceph and how it relates to the hardware configurations, things of that nature. Larry can help you. David can help you. Ovidio has helped out in the SUSE Linux days around Ceph. So if y'all have any questions, please let any of us know. Thank you very much.
And I'll encourage you, if you have questions about the reference architectures, come to the session Matt Curley and I are doing this afternoon.
Yes.
It's about, what time did I tell you?
3:15.
3:15, thanks.
Yes, sir. Thanks again.
Thank you.